guys, tonight is a typical Florida summer evening. It is warm and the mosquitoes are eating me alive, but for countless families, summer means camping trips. And that is usually a time full of wonderful memories. But for one family, in July of 2015, one such trip would end in tragedy. Tragedy that would strike before the first night comes to an end. For Jessica Mitchell and Vernal DeOrr Kunz Sr., little DeOrr, their child, would never be seen again before the sun even set on the first night of their camping trip in Timber Creek Campground in Idaho Falls. This trip was spontaneous, according to the parents. They set off with their little 2.5-year-old son, DeOrr, and Jessica's grandfather, Robert Walton, and his friend, Isaac, to do a little fishing and a little camping. When they first arrived at the campsite, Jessica and Vernal would go off for, according to them, 10 to 15 minutes to go fishing. And for some reason, they chose not to take little DeOrr with them, but to leave him in the care of Grandpa, which a lot of people have found a little odd in and of itself. Oh, big bugs! Because Grandpa was older and not in great health. Well, after they did a little bit of fishing, they returned to the campsite and allegedly asked the grandfather where DeOrr was because they didn't see him. And Grandpa told them that he was not even aware that he was supposed to be watching DeOrr, and he stated that he saw DeOrr go off behind them to the creek. So the parents called 911, but what was odd was the father drove away to call 911. He stated that he was trying to get reception, but Mom called right from the campground, so she had reception. Now, maybe that was just done in a panic and, they didn't talk to each other and Dad just got in the car and drove away. But for whatever reason, 2 calls came in to 911. One from Mom, who was right at the campsite, and one from Dad, who allegedly had drove away to find reception. So nobody has ever been charged in this case. DeOrr has never been found, but the parents were suspects, and in the eyes of many, including a lot of law enforcement, still are suspects. It also has been alleged that the parents failed polygraph tests, although I cannot confirm that fact. So some of the things that were odd right from the beginning was that the parents talked about how they had gone into town to go to a little store, and that the clerk saw and spoke to little DeOrr, and they claimed that this happened at 1 o'clock. But the clerk said the only child she saw was 5 hours after the parents reported being at the store. She claimed no child was at, I'm swatting mosquitoes as I'm talking to you, that no child was at the store during the timeline that they gave. So some of the other things that bothered people about this case was that it was alleged that little DeOrr was wearing cowboy boots that were 2 sizes, I believe 2 sizes too big, and yet the boots were never found. So the parents have stuck to the story that they believe that little DeOrr was abducted. But that means in this very remote area that somebody would have had to come in a 10 to 15 minute window, according to the parents, see the child, abduct the child, and get away with him, and that these boots, at least not even one of the boots, fell off during all of this. And also, some people have speculated, including a well-known psychic, that maybe the child was dragged off by a bear. But again, the boots are a problem, because if a bear snatched up the child would have been kicking and screaming, you would think, but Grandpa never heard him, Isaac never heard him. There was no sign of these boots anywhere. There's been no sign of anything No clothing, no remains, no anything. And in over all the years that have passed and multiple searches that have been done, even some pretty recently, with helicopters, cadaver dogs, drones, you name it, nothing has ever been found to connect any evidence to little DeOrr. Some people have speculated that there was an accident, and how familiar is that to all of us in these cases of missing children? And that maybe the parents covered it up. But again, just like all the other cases, that would come down to the why. Why would the parents cover it up if, like some people have speculated, maybe dad backed up and drove over the child, something like that? Why wouldn't they just call for help and say that that's what happened? It should be noted that nobody has ever come forward and ever accused either one of these parents of being negligent towards little DeOrr. So it's not like that, there's a history of abuse or neglect. So if just a terrible accident happened, why wouldn't you just say that? I don't know. It was also said that prior to this camping trip, that the father had been working on his car, and that he may have been upset because little DeOrr allegedly scratched up the car, this Mustang, with a screwdriver. But there's no proof that that happened, or that even if it did happen, that dad did anything more than what is alleged, which is that he just painted over the scratches. So I don't know. There's also a cousin named Keisha, I want to say, and some people have speculated that some posts that she made 3 days prior to the camping trip may have been in regards to DeOrr. She made some posts on Facebook or Instagram, one of them, that her heart was broken, that she was really upset, that she needed someone to come hold her. And some people wonder if something happened then, because she lived right upstairs in the same building as Vernal and Jessica. But both Keisha and her mother deny that those posts that were made had anything to do with DeOrr, and that she was just upset about something else. But the same cousin, Keisha, after DeOrr was confirmed to be missing, made a post that said, "Fly high, baby DeOrr, we'll see you again." And people have wondered, well, if you thought he was abducted, if the parents were so sure that he was abducted, why would you be making like a memorial type post? But, she was young, maybe she just did. She thought something did happen to him. Who knows? But another odd thing is that they reported that little DeOrr was wearing a camo jacket when he went missing. Well, when Jessica and Vernal moved out of their apartment, they left a lot of stuff behind. And when the landlord let people in to empty out the apartment, they found a little toy car that is alleged to match the description of the one that the parents said that the child was holding when he disappeared. And they found a camo jacket in the apartment. Now, a 2.5-year-old little boy may have multiple little blue toy cars, and he may even have more than one little camo jacket. But it is odd that items were found in the apartment that matched what the parents said that he was last seen with. Also, parents took the polygraphs and did multiple interviews with police. After one interview, they, were acting appropriate during the interview. They were crying. They were very upset. But it is said that as soon as they left there, they went to a Spencer's, which is like a novelty store usually found in malls, and they bought a device where you can cast your penis. It was called like Mold My Penis or something. It's like one of those things with the molds, like you would do a handprint or like a belly if you were pregnant, only this one was for your wiener. And it's just kind of odd that they went straight from the police interview about their missing child to a Spencer's to buy a casting device to cast Vernal's wiener. It's kind of weird. But I don't know. People do weird things when they're upset. And I guess sex can be a comfort when you're upset. So I don't know. I don't know. That, these are just kind of things that have made people look at them a little strange. Just some inconsistencies in their timeline and some of their behavior. They're not together anymore, by the way. They have new lives now. But tell me what you think about the story. Do you think that little DeOrr in this very, rural, rustic area was seen by a stranger who would come up to their campsite so boldly and sorry, thought somebody was pulling in my driveway, but it's a truck across the street, and would abduct him? That's pretty bold. You have, like, according to the parents, 10 or 15 minutes to pull this off. Do you think that a wild animal, I mean, certainly there would be wild animals out there, but like a bear to come and take him, it's a loud truck. Without these boots even coming off, at least one of them, nobody would hear the child screaming or being taken by a bear. Do you think the parents intentionally did something to him? Do you think it was an accident that was covered up? Do you think the child even made it to the campsite? A lot of people don't think that child ever was at that campsite. Like I said, the parents have no history of maltreatment towards this child. In the years since, they really stuck by each other in the beginning. In the years since, they've started to point fingers at each other. A lot of fingers at Grandpa, who has since passed away. Grandpa did this, like, god-awful interview where he was so, like, grumpy and gruff and just, like, was like, I don't know, like, whatever happened, it's done, it's over with. But that could just be his nature. That could just be his way. A lot of people have pointed fingers at Isaac, including the parents. And, I will say they didn't point fingers at him in the beginning. But as the years went by and more heat was on them and more people started to look at them in a more of a suspicious light, then they kind of turned on Isaac. And, Isaac was described as a little bit slow. But a lot of people said he would never hurt a fly. And his story, has been pretty consistent, from the beginning. It really seems like he doesn't know anything. So, I don't know. Tell me what you think. It's an awful story. All these years have gone by and little DeOrr has never been found. There was two private investigators on the case. One by the last name Klein specifically had a lot of suspicion of the family. And he was very verbal about it and very public about it. And the family actually sued him, but they didn't win. And he has a website called Justice for Baby DeOrr, where he outlines everything in the case that he feels like points to the parents. And he has always felt like they knew a lot more than they were saying. But he also seems, in my opinion, to feel like it was an accident that was covered up and not that they did anything maliciously to the child. But he was their private investigator and he felt like they were guilty. And there was one prior to him that felt like the parents knew more than they were saying. So there's that. And law enforcement has, said that they thought the parents knew more than they were saying, but just didn't have the evidence to arrest anybody. So I don't know. The case is still open. There's never been any real concrete evidence one way or the other on what happened to the baby. There was a sighting in California at one point, but it turned out not to be him. And then I think in 2019, there was bones found up in that area. But after DNA testing, they were not human bones. And it's really sad because for a lot of the investigators, even if the child is deceased, they would still be happy to know that, just to have some closure on the case, because it's gone on and been an open case for so long. But they say it is not a cold case, and they continue to look and they continue to follow up on any leads at all that come in. So tell me what you think. I don't have a strong feeling on this one. I usually have at least some feeling of what I think happened in a case. I'm, always willing to share that if I have an opinion, but I just don't know on this one. I just don't know. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about the parents, about their guilt, about their innocence, I don't think an abduction happened, but if I think the kid wandered off and, even though there's lack of any physical evidence, if he just found himself in a situation where he was injured or hurt or deceased. I don't know about the animal theory, but it's possible, I guess. or if there was an accident. I don't know. I don't have a strong feeling, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, okay? So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.